Welcome, guys, to a captivating episode of our podcast where we're about to dive headfirst into the world of trading and uncover the secrets to success at the very edge of its dynamic and ever-evolving industry. I'm your host, Michael Wakeman, and today we have a true visionary at the forefront, a trailblazer who's not only redefining the art of trading, but is also revolutionizing the way that traders are educated, nurtured, and propelled to new heights. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Samuel, the ingenious mind behind Traders with Edge, a prop trading firm that's not just about numbers on a screen, but is also about empowering and enriching lives through strategic trading. But wait, there's more to this story than meets the eye. Traders with Edge isn't your typical trading company. It's a bold mission, a grand endeavor, aiming to fund at least 25,000 traders by the end of 2025. Imagine a collective force of skilled traders armed with knowledge and backed by resources, making waves in the financial market. Now, that's a vision worth exploring. So without further ado, I'm your host, and this is Samuel, the CEO of Traders with Edge. Welcome, Samuel. I hope you're well.
Thank you. What an intro. We've got to live up to that now. So thanks. No pressure.
Cool. Before we dive into the juicy parts of the podcast, let's start by peeling back the layers and answering a question that's undoubtedly on our listeners' minds. So
Samuel is an entrepreneur at heart. I've always been in business. My parents were always in business for themselves, and so were their parents. And I started off quite young, probably about 12 years old, with my first business, saved up money working on a farm, and where I used to live, bought some chickens and geese, ducks, and used to sell their eggs. I've had various different businesses over the years since then, pretty much always worked for myself. The digital space has been my playground for the last probably 16, 17 years. I originally started trading back in 1998, 99, 2000. This is right before the big tech bubble, boom and bust. So back then, we didn't even have computers to trade on. This is showing my age, it's stopping me a bit. We used to have these gigantic pieces of paper, like kind of 1 meter by 1 meter squared, and used to get the open high-low close from the newspaper at the end of each day, or like in the morning on the day following. You'd get the open high-low close and you'd draw it on a graph on a piece of paper, and you would map out your strategy on a huge piece of paper, and then you'd call up your broker and you place a trade. And that's how I originally started trading back then. I didn't continue that as a full-time career, but I picked it up again in about 2015, 16, and started trading again. Had a funds management company. And then we were looking for how do we develop more trading strategies? We used to be predominantly an algo trading business. And I don't know if you're familiar with algo trading, but to develop systems, to design them, to build them, to back test them, forward test them before you can even put them on live funds. There's a whole heap of work that goes into doing that properly. Not like just going to the MQL5 marketplace and buying some magic gold 5,000 EA for $27 and getting rich. When you're in the funds management game, it's a whole other ball game. And so that's a very costly and time expensive exercise to be in. So we were looking for how can we attract more traders to our company to build a portfolio of people that can manage funds for us. So it's probably a very long answer to a short question, but I guess that's a place that we could launch from.
yeah, no, that's really interesting. Obviously, a lot's changed since those times. I've heard a lot of people say that we're trading in the pits or whatever, that we've now got technology that would simulate or replicate the kind of technology, maybe even more advanced, the professionals had back in those days. So it's really interesting to speak with somebody that's came from that kind of background. When you were talking about working for a management fund, that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. How much capital was under management?
That business was only a startup. We only had a few million under management at the time. And then that was leading into the whole COVID craziness where volatility just went off the charts. And we said, hey, we don't want to play in this space at the moment because it's just crazy. You look at the volatility compared to the prior 10 years, And it was just literally off the charts, no pun intended.
Yeah, that's cool. Could you share time about what was your inspiration behind starting up Traders with Edge?
So back in 2019, I think it was, we were, as I mentioned, we're in a funds management company and we're looking for how do we acquire as many strategies as possible to help diversify our portfolio. And that's really where the idea started from, or the search started from. Back then, there really were not many firms out there. There was the behemoth FTMO. They'd been around for a couple of years by then. We looked at their model and thought it was an interesting model. And so that's where we, really started this path, was looking for more traders to add to our fund.
Oh, cool. I actually came across Traders with Edge for the very first time. I was opening my web browser and I was on it, and I actually saw an advert for Traders with Edge. So it's funny we're on a podcast now. But yeah, so from what I understand, you guys have 3 models available. So you have the Turtle 1 phase challenge, the Hare 2 phase challenge, plus an instant funding model. So first of all, let's talk about the Hare model, which is the typical 2-phase challenge with the usual targets. But is there anything different in terms of rules or anything in particular that is unique that you can tell me more about?
Absolutely. So the biggest difference between our challenges and most others is we allow traders to customize their challenge to suit their trading style. You've got to understand from a business perspective, you can't just have open rules. Anyone can do anything and manage money however they want, because inevitably they're going to blow something up. So there has to be rules and guidelines in place to make sure that company is vetting a trader properly. However, what we appreciate is that not all traders follow the same strategy or same set of rules. So your rules might be very different than my rules, might be very different than someone who's watching this podcast. So we allow traders to slightly modify the rules of the challenge to suit their style. If they hold trades longer, if they like to take bigger positions versus smaller positions, they can do that with customizing our rules. And so we offer a number of different options for them to be able to customize their challenge. I think it's pretty like a fundamental difference across everything that we do, whether it's on our 1-phase, 2-phase, or instant accounts. So yeah, there's guidelines around that, but it's a big point of difference. And we get a lot of good feedback from traders that love to be able to modify it so that it suits their needs. They can pass more easily and they can manage an account when they are actually funded more easily, as opposed to being pigeonholed into something that doesn't suit their style and inevitably is going to force them to.
Yes, I agree. I think it's really important. As you mentioned, there is variations of different trading styles, and to be able to accommodate each individual that is actually coming into your prop firm is really good. So a great and unique thing about Traders with Edge is the possibility to, as you mentioned, customize your account. Would you be able to present our community with the available customization features you offer?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, are we talking about a 2-phase specifically now? Because the customizations vary a little bit depending on what type of challenge someone is doing. The first customization can choose to increase their profit split if they'd like to, from 80% to 90%. They can double leverage on metals and forex, hold over weekend, and also increase the maximum loss to 12% and increase the daily loss to 6% from 5%. So that's for our 2-phase, what we call our pair challenge. So there was increased profit split, double leverage, hold over the weekend, increase the maximum loss and the daily loss.
Okay. And from implementing those features that you offer, what kind of feedback and response do you get from your customers?
We find that quite a large portion of our customers love the customizations. They, as I mentioned before, they want to customize it to their style, their ability. Some people want more leverage. Some people say, hey, I need a lot more leverage to trade. And other people say, hey, I don't want more than 1 to 10 leverage. Consistently positive, and people look for that. We're always open looking at new customizations as well. So if someone says, hey, you don't offer this customization, I would like to be able to do this, we're more than happy to look at it. We've got to see, one, is it feasible as a business? We can't just, as I mentioned before, open up to anything and then we have people come in, trade our funds and then just blow it up. So we've got to have guidelines in place to make sure that what traders do, we're governing that to make sure that we're protecting our capital. That's the number one rule, right? It's protecting your downside. Sorry, I was just going to say, it's important to note that when someone takes a customization, they're not just taking a customization on the challenge. The customization actually flows through to the live account when they're trading on that as well. So if they choose to increase the drawdown, for example, that increased drawdown goes through to the live account as well once it's passed.
That's brilliant because I think what a lot of traders actually find challenging is they are being pressed into a mold, aren't they? In a way where one strategy may be more high risk, or they might be looking to get in and out, or you've got high risk reward strategies and maybe lower, and then you've obviously got maybe lower risk reward and higher win rates. Yeah, that's a really good feature that you offer. And I'm sure a lot of people and a lot of listeners would be interested in that too. So how long has the Traders with Edge actually been around for?
So we started building this business in now 23, 22. We started off the management company. So the funds management company's been around 4.5, 5 years now. And so we built this in parallel. We actually opened the doors to traders near the start of 21. So I guess if you think about it, we're not one of the first. We've had this whole slew of copycat prop firms come out over the last 12 months. So a year before those guys, we try to keep everything that we do a bit unique, a bit different to suit the trader, as opposed to just copying the same mold that many other traders or many other prop firms, rather, the paths that they go down.
Yeah. So you mentioned that there has been, and obviously I'm aware of this as well, there has been a lot. It's almost like a prop firm bubble. You could put it like that. What would you say some red flags to look out for when looking at a prop firm to consider?
Yeah, great question. The first thing where I see people, they get disillusioned and maybe influenced in the wrong way. They see a prop firm that comes up with the new prop firm, and you see this in some of the groups, right? In the Telegram groups or the Reddit groups, whatever it might be. Oh, there's this new prop firm that's just come out and it offers these really easy rules so you can pass. It's guaranteed that company will not be around in 1 or 2 months. I've seen this happen. I can't even tell you how many times so far, where this new firm comes out, they've got this great marketing, they have this website up, and they've got really easy rules. And the trader first think, great, I'm going to go and pass, I'm going to get funded, and I'm going to make lots of money. That's totally the wrong way to think about it, because what inevitably happens is people go, made a whole bunch of people pass, and then the prop firm either doesn't have the capital to fund them, or they have to pay out a bunch of traders and they don't have the money to fund them, and they disappear. I'm not going to name names, but there's some very well-known names in the industry that have gone through this. They went out and they said, we're going to be the best. We're going to offer really easy rules for people to pass. And they went under. Then they popped up 2-3 months later with a different brand name and launched again. So this is my number one piece of advice to people, is just look at the credibility in the background, the history of the company that you're going to work with if you are going to trade for a prop firm, just the same as you would with a broker, right? A new broker pops up overnight. And just because they're new, I want to be clear, just because they're new doesn't mean that they're bad. But you need to be able to validate multiple points. Are they a legitimate business? Do they have legitimate backing? And does the management actually have the expertise to run a business that's going to last for the long term? Again, I'm not going to name names, but there's so many cases out there in the prop firm space where people have just come out and they've gone, this is their first business. They're going to set up a prop firm. They go and buy a website template. They plug into some software and they have some rules and they make them too easy, and then they're gone. And so people think, oh yeah, but I'll pass and I'll get rich before the prop firm blows up. No, you won't, because it's always someone left holding the bag, right?
Yeah.
And there's more people left holding the bag and that lose than there are a couple of people that might actually win out of it. So it's something like my number one piece of advice is just be super careful. Again, it's got nothing to do with time is a factor. The longer someone's been in business, potentially the longer they're going to be in business, but it's not the only factor. Like people they put more weight on that than they do, rather than looking at the founders or the management's credibility and how long they've been in business and what sort of other businesses they're running. and that sort of thing, as opposed to just looking at time. We had a funny comment the other day and people were saying, your domain name's only registered for 1 year from today. It expires in 1 year. Has no correlation to, are we good in business and are we doing the right thing by our customers? Absolutely zero correlation, right? Just happens that like our domain expires in a year. Of course, we're going to renew it. Doesn't mean that we're going to disappear in a year. Like people just focus sometimes on the wrong things, and they're better to look at, as I said, the stability of the company, the founders, reviews as well. The number of reviews, there's no correlation between the number of positive reviews and is the business actually good. Now, be a little bit controversial here, but I do need to say it because it's the truth, right? You can go and buy fake reviews on so many different sites for a couple of dollars for each fake review. Now, I'm not saying that any specific prop firm is buying reviews, insinuating that any specific firm is. What I will say is that we know that there are firms out there who have been pinged for doing exactly that, and it's not hard to do. Again, it's not just looking at, does this firm have a whole heap of reviews? Great, I'm going to go with them. It's looking at multiple different points to validate, is this business real, legitimate, and can I trust those people who are behind that business? So something else to keep in mind is that the quantity and the quality of reviews, right? They might have thousands of reviews, but you read them and they're like, great, awesome.
All 5-star, 5-star.
Yeah. And there's no actual depth to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are incentivized to go and do it. They've talked to someone on live chat. They never actually bought from that company. And the person on live chat says, hey, if I answered your questions today, would you leave me a 5-star review? That's how people can get a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
Because it's some negative feedback that people say to us, oh, you've only got 300 reviews. Yeah, but every single review is a legitimate person who came through and actually purchased something from us. It's not like someone was on live chat and went and left them a review because someone promised them a coupon code. So it's these other sort of elements that you've got to look for. There's no golden bullet to say, yep, this prop firm, I'm going to get paid out and going to make a lot of money or whatever. What's the broker that they use? What are the spreads of the broker? Do they widen the spreads? Some firms widen the spreads on their traders. So they'll take the standard spreads from the broker, they'll widen them, they'll mark up the commissions. Obviously, it's a lot harder for a trader to pass. So they might make really easy looking challenge criteria, but then they go and they mess with the broker, right? So people think that it's becoming really easy to pass because they look at the rules at face value, not thinking about spreads, the commissions, the slippage, and everything else that goes on the broker side. It's just another element for people to consider before they look at trading with.
Yeah, you mentioned some really good points there. And I think a good way to look at it as well is almost like you're evaluating a stock, right? Because a prop firm is still a company. A good metric to look at when you're analyzing a stock, whether you want to be a long-term investor in that stock, is what are the founders like, as you say, and done a bit of research. And I understand that the board of directors at Traders with Edge has successfully started up 20 companies.
Yeah, between us been in business a long time in many different companies. Yeah, you're right. So that's the sort of things like you mentioned. It's like evaluating a stock. You're 100% right there. You wouldn't just say, hey, the price of that stock is good, so I'm going to go and buy that and hold it. You want to do more research into the fundamentals of it.
Yeah, 100%. So looking at obviously as an owner of a prop firm now, looking into the industry, and obviously there's literally prop firms popping up. Are you worried about traders capital, and how do you see this kind of almost like a trend playing out into the future?
I'm not worried about competition coming in. I think competition is really healthy. It makes everyone raise their standards. On the downside, what it does do is it can cheapen the industry in a way where you get people just consistently trying to run promotions and just discount. You've really got to question the validity of the business if people are running like 50% off discount every week, right? What is their business model and are they actually a legitimate firm? But again, most people think about it like, hey, great, there's a 50% discount every week. I'll just go with this one. Is that the best way to be thinking about it? Probably not. Because again, if I was going to trade for a prop, you want to make sure that you're partnering with the right person or the right company. It's not about, can we jump in and get a quick win and make a profit? And then some people do that, varying degree of success. I don't know how sustainable that is. But if you keep getting caught up in the newest, latest prop firm, you've really got to question your approach to trading, right? Are you short term, just trying to get in and gamble and get out? That's fine. If people want to do that, no judgment. If you really want to be a trader, but thinking about who are the firms that are going to be here in 5, 10, 20 years that are going to support them in their career to actually create a long-term sustainable income. And that's the people that we want to partner with. We want the trader who we can take, who they might be an all right trader. We've got some education stuff coming out soon, mentoring and courses, mobile friendly courses that we're going to be launching soon to help traders and nurture them, give them the tools. So we've got some amazing tools coming up, some of which I can't even talk about. They're so top secret and cutting edge, but they will be coming out later towards the end of this year, 2023. And so that's what's going to set us apart. So and again, this is another signal of, as a legitimate firm and who does, the ones that are consistently investing in creating tools and resources for their traders to improve versus ones that are just running like, hey, we're running a discount special this week because it's the only way that we can compete. You've got to question, who do you want to be aligned with? Who do you want to be working with? As an example, another resource that we have is how to pass your prop firm challenge. We have that guide on our website. Usually we sell it. Sometimes we give it away for free, but just goes through the fundamentals of, have you got your checklist ready to go and approach your challenge? Most people don't consider some of the things in there. Some of them are bog stock standard. You have to do this and you'll increase your chance of passing. But it's surprising how many people don't do those basic things. You as a trader, you probably do them all the time anyway. It's just preparing people for the mindset of how they're going to come into this, how they're going to approach it and treat it like a real job. One of the hardest things about traders coming into the prop firm space, or trading for that matter at all, like you want to be a doctor, you're going to go to school for, depending on where you are in the world, 6 to 8, 10 years in some places to be a doctor. And you want to be an accountant, minimum 4 years. You want to be a lawyer, minimum 4 to 6 years. But you want to be a trader and you want to make the same money as those guys. And you just open an account or you buy an account and you push a button and you're in business. Don't do the groundwork to prepare themselves to actually have that successful full-time income that they're aspiring to have.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to consider, because I think we're all guilty of it as well, because we all come into the industry with this illusion of fast money, and fast money can come, but it's the hard work that goes on through the years of suffering and failure that you eventually can reap those rewards. And I do think that's why a lot of people use prop firms as the same. It's the same thing, but a new business model, if you like. Instead of people blowing up their personal accounts, waste hundreds of pounds on prop firms without essentially being consistently profitable first. But again, if that's what they want to do, I'm really interested to find out how many funded traders you actually have on board now, and what's the average percentage of traders that do pass these challenges?
Yeah, sure. I don't have the exact stats on hand. I don't deal with those directly. We've got data scientists and guys that manage all of that. I can tell you at the moment, the funded traders that we have at the moment is somewhere around the 30 to 35 mark in terms of ongoing people. In terms of pass rate, it really depends if you're looking at the turtle, the 1 phase, the hare, which is the 2 phase, or the instant in terms of the pass rate. Surprisingly, we have quite a high pass rate for the turtle 1 phase challenge. It seems to, and it's not so much, I think, about the rules making it easier for people to pass, as opposed to the types of people that take that particular challenge who come in with a different mindset pass, if that makes sense. So the hare 2 phase has higher leverage. It's shorter. Like typically people will place bigger lots because you've got more leverage, and they'll blow their accounts faster than people that come in for a turtle challenge where you've got a long time to pass. Drawdown is lower. So people typically will use much lower and more sensible lot sizes. And so it's interesting to see the dynamic play out where like a whole different mindset of people take the one phase challenge.
Yeah.
And that's why we call it the turtle, because people take longer to get through them, but they actually pass. Whereas a lot of people go, hey, I need more leverage. I need more leverage to pass. You don't need more leverage to pass. You just need to know your numbers and a better strategy and stick to your rules. So that's the reality of it. I probably offend a few people by that comment, but that's the reality of it. If you know your numbers, your strategy, a piece of insight and advice to people watching who want to pass is, do you actually know what your numbers are before you go into your challenge? For example, you're trading on a pair challenge, a 2-phase challenge, and your maximum drawdown is 10%, but then you go place a large trade and you lose 3%, let's say. You've now lost 1/3 essentially of your total drawdown with one trade. Doesn't matter how good your strategy is, every strategy is going to have a losing streak of 3 or more losing trades in a row. So if you're gambling on the fact that you're going to pass in 3 trades, essentially, you're never going to make it. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just the truth. Because if you look at the average, if you know what your strategy is and you know what your win rate is of your strategy, then there's many calculators online that will tell you this. What are the chances of you having a drawdown of X consecutive losses in a row? I wish, actually, thinking about this, we might even make a calculator for this and put it on our site so that people can go and calculate what is the expectancy of having a particular losing streak.
Do you still trade now?
I don't trade anymore. I just don't have the time for it. It takes time and dedication. And I found that I was just getting sloppy and mistakes because I just don't have the time and focus to dedicate to it.
Since the beginning of Traders with Edge, do you have a rough estimate of how many payouts have been initiated so far?
There's definitely been hundreds and hundreds of payouts. We publish a lot of them in our community. Some people post them in the community themselves. Without it, surprisingly, not too many people share their payouts. I don't know if it's a privacy thing or what it is, because in our community, it's got that person's name and all that sort of stuff. Not like a hidden Telegram group where you might have a pseudonym or something there for people to hide behind. But yeah, it's hard to get people to post their payout proof a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's quite shocking actually, because you always see people will post a winning trade or whatever, or they'll post a certificate from a prop, but they don't post the payouts. So.
No, we don't see a lot. We don't see a lot of it, but we don't push people to do it either.
Yeah.
It's just not nice to go and trade for someone, receive a payout, and then they're badgering you to post proof. I just don't think it's a very nice experience for the traders. We don't push that on people.
So as you probably know, it's very important to take care of your community in order to be successful in this prop firm industry. Therefore, can you tell us a bit about your plans in this field, and do you have any leaderboards, competitions, Discord groups, or learning resources available for your traders?
Yeah, so it's something that we know we can do better on. We've got a lot of plans that we're rolling out, like literally at the time of recording this. Now, we've had our own community, which is within our website, and we have our own phone app, the Traders with Edge phone app. You can download that from the Play Store or the Google Play Store or the Apple iPhone, whatever you call it, store. And yeah, we have our community there. It's just like Facebook, basically, for traders. It's just trading discussions and people posting their setups and that sort of thing. We do run competitions in there, but we have Trader of the Month. Sometimes we do Trader of the Week. People earn points from within that community based on what they're posting and how much interaction they're getting. You're adding a lot of value to the community. They'll end up with more points, and they can use those points to then put that money toward. We've got a number of other things coming out soon. So competitions we ran previously in the past, we stopped doing them for various reasons, but we've been working hard on re-engineering the competition setup. So we'll be launching competitions again by the end of this year. And another completely different funding model where people don't need to pay, but they need to trade for a longer period of time. We'll be launching that probably the start of 24, where we have our own algorithm that ranks traders over a period of time. So people that don't want to pay for a challenge, who would prefer just to trade for 6, 12 months before they get funded, we will have something like that coming out in 24.
How does that work?
So basically a trader can get issued an account. They then trade that demo account the same as they would if you're trading for a prop challenge. Algorithm will monitor their trades, monitor the trading style, and then give them a score. And the better the score, obviously they need to pass. They need to have been trading for a certain period of time, but also pass with a certain score to then get some funding. And then we manage those trades the same as we would with a traditional type prop firm. Yeah, I think it's something different, unique that most prop firms are not doing at the moment. Yeah, and it's going to be an exciting initiative, and we'll have different competitions in relation to that as well.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, so it would be good to see how it comes in and see how people take to it. It'll be pretty interesting. So they'll be copying the profitable traders' trades in order to make money. So they wouldn't have to actually pay the challenge, but the prop firm would benefit from their success as a trader.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the end goal for everything that we do. It's to bring traders in, nurture them, essentially test them when they're passing the grade, then building a big stable of traders that can trade for us ongoing.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, I was just going to say, just on the last piece about community. So the other thing that we're also doing consistently in the community is various different giveaways and little challenges just for some fun things. We have one going at the moment where we're giving away 100K, 50K and 225K challenges. It's just regular things that we try to do to engage the community and give back to the community to keep people happy and engaged and wanting to be a part of our journey.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Obviously, we've spoken about a whole bunch of things and features that you guys offer in ways that you are unique. But since you are a relatively new company and there is established companies, so how does Traders with Edge differentiate itself and stand out from the crowd?
I guess it's funny that you say that we're relatively new. I guess in business sense, we are. In relation to every other prop firm, we're really not. Sure, my Forex funds and FTO are older than us, but the vast majority of other prop firms out there are not. We're one of the older guys in the prop firm space, even though we only set up in 21. So it's all relative in terms of business sense. Yeah, we're fairly new as a business as a whole. To most other firms, we're not. We try to do everything to be in business in the long term. Every decision that we make, we're just discussing some of the rules recently internally, saying, what can we do to make our rules a little bit more lenient or more attractive to traders while still managing our risk? There's a number of different suggestions from the community. Hey, you should do this, do that, and it would be amazing. But then we have to look at it from a business sense. Do we still want to be in business in 5 years' time? And quite often the answer to the question when you look through that lens is no. Yeah, it would be great to be able to compete with other firms, offer some terms that are more favorable. Will it increase the chance of the company going bust? Then we don't want to do, we don't want to play in that space. I don't know that some other firms think through that same lens. So we're thinking about longevity as opposed to how can we just get quick wins and increase the number of traders that we have this month? Thinking about the fundamental principles as opposed to one of the shiny tactics that you could do in the short term to win people's appreciation is more important.
Sure, I agree. I think it sounds well and good saying that we will make it the most favorable conditions ever. Then what's the longevity for that trader with that prop firm? If you've got a company with still great conditions, trading conditions, achievable targets and whatnot, and it's actually got longevity, surely Traders with Edge or a similar prop firm would be probably the best option for them.
Yeah, I certainly think so. Some people don't see it that way. They just want to try to get in for a quick win, get out while they can. But it comes down to your risk profile as well, right? There's people that do that probably have a higher risk profile, and you go in and end up losing everything, then it wasn't probably really worth it.
So in an industry where traders are now being offered by some companies instant funding with, in some cases, 100% profit split, in that if you're a profitable trader, you're likely being paid out from people failing their challenges. And of course, it's a business at the end of the day. And that I'm guessing is a factor of it. But how accurate would you say that assumption is? And how does the business model work with traders with Edge?
Yeah, you're 100% right to operate on that principle, right? We know that so many people are going to fail and we're just going to pay them or not pay them in some cases out of people that fail. But then are you actually running a prop firm or are you running a gambling house? That's exactly what casinos do. People come in, some people lose. They know that the majority are going to lose and they pay out some of the winners from the winnings. A real prop firm, if you look at what they do, they manage their traders. Of course, they have to vet them on the way in. Can't just take anyone off the street with no credentials, no proven track record. This is the difference in what we're looking to do. We started from the position of we want a model that's going to help us attract more good traders, that we can build a big stable of real quality traders ongoing versus, hey, we just want to set up a business to make some money in the short term. So our end goal is to have a big stable of traders because that is, to us as a business, is worth a lot more, and the longevity of that than it is to just set up some fake tests and make money off people gambling. And this is why we have some rules in place that dissuade people from this gambling behavior where people just come in and they place 100 lot trade and just go 50-50 and hope for the best. We try to put things in place and we're very upfront about it with our rules. It's saying, hey, if you do this, you'll fail. And because we don't want those sorts of people, we actually want real traders who are there who want to build a career out of it. Something you asked the question before about how do we see ourselves being potentially different. One thing that I just realized that we do that no one else does is we have connections to much bigger pools of capital at an institutional level. I haven't seen anyone else offer this before. The criteria is they must trade for us for 2 years, full-time, plus holidays and things. So we have a full-time track record for 2 years. We can then take them to some institutions that we have. So we have, connections to a number of institutions. These guys, when you go there, their minimum check size is $10 million. So they won't assign capital to a trader unless it's minimum $10 million because that's how they work. They've got some different drawdown rules and that sort of thing. But if people are looking for a real career longevity and they want to take this to the moon, then we have the connections in place to do that. So something a bit unique that we offer that others don't.
Great opportunity for traders, really. So it just goes to show that it's not just the products and the services you offer. You actually offer a network that people, once have proven themselves, can actually access, which is really good. I've never heard of a prop firm company actually doing that. So as you probably know, there is a lot of scare and you could say conspiracy theory about idea revolving around the extinction of prop firms. Everyone thinks that prop firms are going to go extinct in the next year or so. What are your thoughts on that opinion? And also, what would you say are the potential risks of the industry, which a lot of people may not be aware of?
I'm not too familiar with these areas, as you mentioned. So it'd be good to understand from your perspective, what are the reasons that they think that the industry will go extinct?
Yes, because I think it's just a lack of understanding about how prop firms actually work. But a lot of people see it as a pyramid scheme, right? Going back to the idea of the successful traders being paid out from the losing traders. And so they essentially think that want all of the people that were purchasing or gambling with just buying challenges all the time, once they get bored and figure out that it's not working for them, then they'll drop off and eventually it will all collapse. That from what I grasp of what I see online, that's the ideology behind that theory. So yeah, would you be able to touch on that and maybe put some people's mind at ease?
Yeah, sure. I don't know how I can put people's mind at ease, but what I would say is that I don't think the prop firm industry is going anywhere, but I think players in the industry will disappear for a number of different reasons. The first one is what I mentioned before about making people coming in and they just try to make a whole bunch of rules that are very easy. And they say, hey, come with us, pay us some money, and there's big promises when they actually don't have the funding. We have a number of both internal funding sources and external funding sources. So we have the backing there. So these groups of people will disappear. And inevitably more will pop up. I don't think the prop firm industry is going anywhere. It's those people that are running the shops that are people come in, they pay for a challenge, you're paying out the winners from the losers. And that's just their business model. They're not going to last
Yeah.
because what's happening at the moment is there's a big discounting war going on at people. It's just a race to the bottom, right? And what will happen is people will discount their challenges so much to the point where they can't make money off paying the winners out from the losers anymore. And they're inevitably going to go belly up. The other thing that will happen, absolutely will happen, is regulation will come to the industry. Very little, if not zero regulation right now. And regulation will come. And people that are running these quasi, like you say, pyramid scheme type things will get wiped out 100%. We will have our own licenses. We'll actually have some already that we just haven't attached to the company, but we have teams of people who are investing in acquiring licenses in different jurisdictions. And we're doing that to future proof the business to make sure that we're still here in 10 years. I don't know of many other prop firms that are doing that. And again, this is just another data point to figure out who you're going to be in business with or not. Because if someone's not even thinking about the fact that regulation will come, how can you trust that they're going to be in business next week, let alone next year or next 2 years? Because they're not even coming to the business with the right mindset of longevity. They're just thinking about, we don't need to get regulated. There's no regulation. It's pretty flippant and they will get caught out. But yeah, that's where I think it is going to go. There'll be a big shake-up, and what will happen is that a lot of the little players will just get wiped out and they'll be left, who knows, handful of the top players who actually go get their licenses and they are regulated in the main countries. I think that's definitely what's going to happen over the next 2 years.
We've seen a lot of, because obviously you've mentioned the competition and it's quite saturated with prop firms at the moment. And obviously a lot of supply is creating more competition, and therefore people are making challenges cheaper, or they're making their conditions and targets more achievable. And so one recent change we've seen is the no time limits, the no maximum day time limits. So would you be able to give us some insight as an owner of a prop firm on why those targets or why those restrictions were put in place initially, and what kind of effect or impact will it have on prop firms going forward into the future?
So when doing a test or when having a test conditions for people to come through to validate or invalidate, can they actually trade to meet the objectives? The time is just another constraint, right? But our targets, daily loss limit, all that sort of things, they're all just constraints to say a trader must trade within these parameters so that we can calculate, are they a winning trader to pass the challenge or not? So time was just one of those constraints that was used. Unfortunately, a couple of people came out and removed that for the 2-phase challenge. For our 1-phase challenge, we've always had a year. Like, we give people a year to pass. Anyway, if they don't pass in a year, then maybe they got unlucky. When I say they don't pass, as in they haven't failed, but they haven't passed in a year. If someone hasn't met the target within a year, then probably not treating it like a full-time serious, not full-time is probably the wrong word, but they're not treating it as a regular, consistent, serious thing. They're just doing it ad hoc, part-time, or something's happened where they've gone away for 6 months. Again, if we think about our end goal of bringing in a fund of a stable of really good traders, are not going to do that. They're fully employed and trading. They're not going to disappear for 6 months and not meet their target. So we've always had a 1-phase challenge, which has had a year to pass. It's been the 2-phase where you've got more leverage, more suited towards your scalpers, intraday traders. That's what the 2-phase was for.
How will the restrictions being lifted in terms of the maximum days, how will that kind of impact prop firms moving forward, positively or negatively, or maybe it doesn't even impact at all?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact for prop firms. I think that if people are going to come in and fail, they're probably going to fail within that window. With our two-phase challenge, most people were giving 30 days to pass. We already gave 60 days to pass before anyone came out and said, oh, we'll give unlimited time. We already gave all of our traders plenty of time to pass compared to most other firms. So for us personally, it's probably not going to make much difference to the business. Hopefully we get some more good traders out of it. That's all we can hope for. But yeah, I don't see it as a big game changer for us.
I wasn't too keen. I think a lot of it, I think that's why we have seen that change with those restrictions being lifted in with a lot of prop firms, such as Traders with Edge. But I think it was quite pressurizing, really, because 10% even as a professional trader is a quite ambitious profit target, especially to hit within a short period of time. So it's good to see that the industry's come even away from that. In terms of, this is just a question out of interest. Obviously, we've got new emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. Do you think there will be a place for AI within the prop firm industry, or is that too far into the future?
No, absolutely. It's here now. It's a really good question. AI is pretty much here now for every type of business, even if you're baking pies at a local bakery, there's some technology available already that can help you run a better business. Or if you're a customer, the AI is helping you find that business. The same thing goes with prop firms and the whole trading industry, right? There's a number of different things that are coming out from bots that can help you analyze sentiment. I think that's going to be a really big thing over the next 6 to 12 months, is taking sentiment and giving traders like a real-time view of sentiment, because something that has been hidden from retail traders for quite a long time. The institutional traders already have access to all of this data, which where are all the retail traders going? And all the institutions jump in and go the opposite way. It's a very well known in the larger end of town. Most retail traders don't realize that, right? So you see 90% of retail traders jump in long Euro USD. Which way do you think all the banks are going to go?
Sure.
That's how they make their money. So I think that AI is going to help distribute some of the intelligence to the retail trader and make it more affordable to access. Something that we're looking at is an AI coach. So we'll help traders, like having someone to talk to about your trading and how could you potentially improve and keep you on track to be more consistent. So it's something that we're looking at for the end of this year, giving away all of our secrets. Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely see AI playing more and more of a role. There's going to be so many people that come out with different software solutions that some of them might be valid. Some of them, they've been doing it for a while anyway, slapping a AI banner on it and saying, oh, this EA has got AI in it. It's been a complete load of rubbish until this point, because they haven't. And actually to have real AI built into an EA is just not even feasible. We went down this path, back in 2017 or something. We were building all our own internal AI systems. It's just so expensive versus the results that you could generate. A guy selling an EA for $40 on the marketplace definitely doesn't have AI in his EA. But I think that's going to start changing, where you're going to see more and more tools that are actually developed with AI, large language models like ChatGPT and other things that are going to give traders more of an edge.
Sure. Do you think, no, I want to go a bit deeper down the rabbit hole, and this is just my mind going to work. If, let's say, AI did actually put in the hands of retail traders profitability or an edge that they can consistently execute on, maybe it's an AI robot or whatever, will there potentially come a point where retail traders aren't able to access the market if so many people are winning?
I think they'll definitely still have access to the market. Will they be profitable? I think it's probably not going to change much than what it already is. Retail traders, they generally have quite a high failure rate because they don't have access to the tools. They don't have the education. They don't have access to the education. It's that most people are impatient and they don't take the time to actually do the education properly and practice on a demo account before they go and trade on live funds. So I don't think any of that's really going to change. The big guys will always have an advantage. That's the way it is. The amount of intelligence that a big bank has versus some guy trading from his mum's basement. It's just like I say, I think AI will help enable that. It'll help democratize the power a little bit and give the trader more insights. But again, if the trader's not educated, they don't practice, they don't learn how to use the tools that they get, then they're never going to be successful anyway. As a trader, where I'd be spending my time, it's practicing and learning the new tools and not looking for the silver bullet. It's not, hey, someone's got this new AI, GPT, trading, whatever, 5,000. That's not your answer to making more money. It's just a tool that someone's selling you so that they can make a lot of money.
Sure. Yeah, I think that you've raised a really good point there. So, what would you say is the main reason for traders actually failing challenges, whether they're failing challenges or maybe even the personal account, and how can they improve? What kind of things can traders do to improve if they are failing challenges or?
The number one reason why we see people fail, and we cover all of this in the guide that we give away on the website, which is how to pass your prop challenge. So people can grab a copy of that if they want, or send an email to support Traders with Edge, and we'll happily give you a copy. But we go through the main reasons why people fail, and then what you do on the flip side of that to increase your chances of passing. The number one reason why people fail is they don't understand their lot size. People quite often look at it like, I'm going to trade with 10 lots, I'm going to trade with 20 lots or whatever it is, as opposed to thinking about the percentage risk on that account. Whereas if I get stopped out, what percentage of that account am I going to lose? Like I said, if it goes back to, if you've got a win rate percent, you might think you're infallible, but a win rate of 70% will have something like a losing streak of 10 within at some point in time. And that point in time could be this week when you're trading your challenge. So if you're risking at 5% per trade, guaranteed you're going to fail your challenge. So that's the number one reason, is people not understanding their lot size. And it's not so much about the lot size, it's the percentage of the account size that they should be thinking about.
Okay. On the flip side, what are some of the successful trades?
Personally, I don't review all of the accounts, so I'm not the best person to ask that question. Unfortunately, we have a team of people monitor all of that sort of stuff.
Sure. So yeah, before we actually came onto the call, I was really excited and looking forward to our conversation. But now after we've had a conversation, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. So what is next for Traders with Edge?
I think probably I've mentioned most of the things that we've got coming out with the longer term funding models where people don't need to pay to get funded. We're looking at brokerage solutions to potentially provide better trading conditions for traders, which will obviously help them in passing the challenges and be more efficient for them when actually trading a funded account. So that's another huge thing that we're working on at the moment. I can't give you dates or times or more information really, because there's a lot to pull together to make it happen. We're going to be rolling out a number of different tools for traders within our community to help them, support them to trade, and hopefully help improve their trading consistency. The AI bot I mentioned, we should be coming out with that in the next couple of months, and more education. So we're working on a whole education strategy and dedicating a heap of resources towards that. So it should have a lot more hands-on trading help for traders.
Okay, brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out, and I'll definitely keep up to date, and I'll recommend the viewers and the listeners to keep an eye on Traders with Edge too. But I think we'll end it. Have you got any final things you'd like to say, or any tips and tricks or pieces of advice you'd like to give to whether there's viewers that want to start a business, or maybe they're in trading and they're not seeing success yet, would like to eventually get to a point of consistency? What piece of advice, if you had to give one, what would you give them?
It's just one piece of advice. The first thing that applies fundamentally to anything is just understand the rules of the game that you're playing, right? Because it sounds a little bit trite, but most people go out in life and they start playing a game that they have no idea what the rules actually are and how the game actually works. So understanding the rules of the game at a very deep level is where I think a lot of people, they don't bother to do that, and they're setting themselves up for failure from day one. An example of this is people not understanding how spreads and commissions impact their trading. They think, oh yeah, I just pay a little bit of money on the spread, or they don't even understand how the spread works. Or they just pay a little bit of money on the commission and they overtrade. And because they're overtrading, they're decreasing the chances that they're going to be profitable just on that alone. That's a simple example, but it really demonstrates the point where people don't understand the rules of the game before they play, and they're setting themselves up for failure.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I think we'll wrap up here. And that, guys, brings us to the end of our episode. On the very edge of a trading world, we've had the privilege of hearing from the brilliant mind behind Traders with Edge, Samuel. His insights have taken us on a journey through the fascinating realm of trading, prop firms, and community building. As we wrap things up, remember that trading is more than just numbers. It's a dynamic blend of strategy, discipline, and the unyielding pursuit of knowledge. Whether you're a seasoned trader or an aspiring investor, or simply just curious about the world of finance, Samuel's wisdom has surely left an indelible mark. I want to say a big thank you to Samuel for joining us on the podcast today. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next with Traders with Edge.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
If anyone wants to create an account or check out Traders with Edge, the link will be in the description, and we all hope to see you there.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot.